Ladies and gentlemen, we are now going to listen to the opening speech delivered by Rector of WARMADEWA University. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Professor Dr. Dewa Putu Wijana, DAPNE SP Park.
Okay, thank you very much for the time given to me. Om Swastiastu. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Salam sejahtera, salam, namo buddhaya, salam kebajikan, and good morning for all of us. Honorable Ministry of Tourism and Creative Economy, the Republic of Indonesia, Dr. Haji Sandiaga Salahuddin Uno, Honorable Deputy Governor of Bali Province, Professor Cokodo Oko Arte Ardana Sukawati, Honorable the Chairman of Kesejahteraan Korpi Bali Foundation, our visiting experts, distinguished participants, ladies and gentlemen. It's give me a great pleasure to welcome all of you today in this opening ceremony of the first Economic International Conference with the title of Welcoming a New Era for Economic Change in Developing the Tourism Industry, which organized by the Faculty of Economy, WARMADEWA University. This is a challenging time for all of us as we are facing the global COVID-19 coronavirus pandemic, which has affected 1 billion lives, global economy, including global tourism. Global tourism is generally recognized as one of the largest industries in the world and being one of the most significant sources of employment and gross domestic products. Tourism particularly benefit the economic of developing countries like Indonesia, especially for Bali, where most of the sector tourism jobs and businesses are being pluralized. The tourism industry in Bali and around the world has faced significant challenges as a result of this pandemic. The COVID-19 lockdown has led to international travel restriction, rifle quarantines, and health certificate requirements. Those shatter the global tourism industry for months of 2020 or 2021. Despite the many difficulties we are all facing, we need to adapt to disturbances and seize opportunities emerging from these changes. Today's conference is attended by both international speakers and national speakers, covering comprehensive topics of economic, from tourism logistics to finance sector and capital market. Through networking, sharing of education, we hope to reinvent the strategies in order to build a more resilient tourism industry in this new era. I hope we will all walk away from the conference enriched with broader insight regarding the element for building a more efficient and resilient economy. I would like to take this opportunity to express my sincere thanks to the organizer and in particular our honorable speakers. Finally, I wish you have a wonderful time during the conference. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor Dr. Dewa Putu Jana, DAP and ESP Park. Ladies and gentlemen, we are now going to listen to the welcome speech delivered by Head of Corporate Welfare Foundation of Bali Province. Please welcome Dr. Andes Ana Agung Gede Oke Wisnumurti, MSc.
Thank you very much. Om Swastiastu. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Namo Buddhaya, salam kebajikan, salam sejahtera, dan salam sehat untuk kita semua. Good morning to all attendees of this first Economy International Conference. First, I would like to welcome you all at WARMADEWA University. Thank you for attending and participating in this event. Second, let me express my appreciation to the committee of the conference for all the hard work they have been doing. Sharing the knowledge and expanding network in the pandemic situation is made easy by technology. Therefore, this is no reason the speed time waiting for the disease to go away. The theme of the seminar, welcoming a new era for economic change in developing tourism industry, is very timely. We have faced in the difficult situation for months and no one knows when this will over. The pandemic hit the tourism industry very hard and helped economic development of Bali. We have to deal with this situation, formulating new strategy, find novel solution and think differently. Only by doing so we can go out from this trap. I do hope that in this conference, all participants could share this expertise, expression, and knowledge to think about a new way to solve the problem. I believe that all of you have the capacity to talk about this, and we will harvest new knowledge. Finally, thank you once again, and please enjoy the session. Thank you very much. Om Santi, 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 Om. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Selamat pagi untuk kita semua. Salam sehat dan sukses selalu. Terima kasih.
Honorable Minister of Tourism and Creative Economy of Republic of Indonesia, Chairman of Welfare Foundation, Kopri of Bali Province, distinguished speakers, ladies and gentlemen. Om Swastiastu. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Shalom, Namo Buddhaya, and very good morning to all of us. To begin these remarks, let us extend our utmost gratitude to either Yang Widiwasa, God the Almighty, for the blessing given to us all today, so that we are able to gather virtually to attend the first WARMADEWA International Conference on Economy 2021, Faculty of Economics and Business. On this occasion, I would like to welcome all participants, especially those joining from abroad. Normally, I always invite you all to have visit and explore more of Bali. However, due to the pandemic, we can only meet virtually for the moment. Hopefully, we can have you again soon when the pandemic is over. I also would like to congratulate WARMADEWA University for hosting such a great event. Hopefully, we can learn a lot today from the faithful discussion. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to describe a bit about Bali. Bali is a small island with an area of 0.29% of all Indonesian territory. Currently, there are around 4.2 million people living in this island. Bali does not have abundant natural resources community, such as mineral and oil compared to other regions. But however, Bali does have a pristine nature, hospitable people, unique cultures, and good human resources. Bali's economies depend on three leading sectors: agriculture, tourism, and small and medium enterprise, especially those related in the tourism industry. As a renewed international tourism destination, Bali is very open toward the exchange of cultures and resources. The dynamics of Balinese viewpoint rapid change in the globalization world reflect how Balinese always adapt with the world. This nurtures a good competition of human resources among Balinese. Competition invites more adventure and efforts leading to even better human resource. Balis have high hopes to create a space for community welfare in the midst of high economic growth in the world. I faith the Balinese are able to be key actors in the economy rather than spectators. Even during this difficult time of COVID-19 pandemic, Balinese are able to swiftly adapt. Many of us turn to commerce and service sector when tourism sector is running down. In doing so, Balinese are able to utilize technology to help them market their product and services. Hence, investing in science and technology to create a better human capital in Bali is really important. I believe our future lies with the ability of how we can utilize these technologies to nurture innovation and become pioneer in the economy. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, to end these remarks, I wish you all a good discussion during the event. May this conference give a positive vibration and spirit to the economic development, especially for Bali economy recovery. Thank you and have a good conference. Om Santi, Santi, Santi Om. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Shalom and Namo Buddhaya.
Thank you for Director of University of WARMADEWA, as well as Head of Corporate Welfare Foundation of Bali Province, and Deputy Governor of Bali for the speech. It was amazing. Therefore, I would like to invite one speaker from James Cook University, Professor Abhishek Singh Bhatti, to give a speech for our first international conference. To Professor Abhishek Singh Bhatti, please welcome.
Hello, everyone. I hope you can hear me. Very good morning from James Cook University in Singapore. I would like to acknowledge, excellencies, dignitaries, all the guests, students, and various ladies and gentlemen. It is my pleasure to talk at this first Faculty of Economics and Business at WARMADEWA University Conference. And this morning, I'm going to talk about, as I was asked to do so, how tourism can help through welfare gains. So I have a presentation that I would be sharing, and I'll be taking you through this as we proceed into the presentation. So I'm going to share my screen now, and I hope you should be able to see my screen. Just give me a minute.
Thank you, Professor Abhishek Singh Bhatti, for the speech. Now we're going to listen to the opening speech delivered by Ministry of Tourism and Creative Economy, Republic of Indonesia. Please welcome Dr. Haji Sandiaga Salahuddin Uno BBA MBA, who will be represented by Putri Indonesia Pariwisata Wilda Octaviana Situngkir.
Hello, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Hopefully all of you doing very well today. And let me introduce myself first. My name is Wilda Octaviana Situngkir. I am Putri Indonesia Pariwisata 2019, which is on behalf of Ministry of Tourism and Creative Economy, Republic of Indonesia. It's a pleasure to give opening ceremony for today. Wishing success to give opening today, and also to the WARMADEWA International Conference, Faculty of Economics and Business, WARMADEWA University in Bali. I believe today is a great day to all of us, and I hope all of the activity today will be good until the end. And the COVID-19 virus case is case that a huge impact on the world, especially the country is in the East Asia region, such as Indonesia. The impact is very having an impact on the industry in Indonesia, especially in tourism. The very affected industry in tourism industry, especially. The increased case of the COVID-19 virus have made several countries adopt social distancing and even lockdown. The Minister of Tourism and Creative Economy, which is Bapak Sandiaga Uno, Mr. Sandiaga Uno, said the tourism industry must continue and enter a new normal era. All of us know that now the tourism business must adapt to new conditions and have a business strategy to stay and to be strong. The Indonesian government has prepared an important step to review tourism industry. So, namely social protection programs for workers in the tourism sector and the creative economy that is right on target. Hopefully in the future, especially Indonesia and also around the world economy, will to create and tourism will soon recover. Salam pariwisata. Sukses. Thank you so much. Have a good day, everyone.
Thank you, Wilda Octaviana Situngkir. We are now continuing our meeting. The next agenda is to hear the keynote speeches, which will be delivered by Professor Dr. M.D. Mamun Habib from School of Business and Entrepreneurship, Independent University, Bangladesh, and visiting scientist, University of Texas, Arlington, UTA, USA. Dr. Putu Ngurah Yasa, SE, MSE, WARMADEWA University. Dr. Jinabi Alcoriza, San Jose Campus, Philippines. Professor Abhishek Singh Bhatti, GAICD from James Cook University, Singapore. Professor Dr. Inyoman Dharmaputra, M.Lit from Udayana University. And Dr. Moh Rajiv Jamaluddin from Technology University of Mara. The keynote speech will be moderated by Dr. Imade Sunyasta Amarta, SS MPAR, as Distinguished Moderator. To Dr. Imade Sunyasta Amarta, SS MPAR, the screen is yours.
Well, thank you very much, Michelle. The time given to me to escort this the first Faculty of Economy and Business International Conference, WARMADEWA University, and welcoming a new era for economic change in developing the tourism industry, which is held today, Friday, December the 10th, 2001. Very good morning to all of you. Swastiastu. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Salam, Namo Buddhaya. My God Almighty bless all of us. While the Honorable Head of Cultivating Foundation, the Honorable Rector of WARMADEWA University, the Honorable Dean, Vice Dean and Staff of Faculty of Economics and Business Warmadewa University. We are Rebel distinguished speaker for today. First, Professor Dr. M.D. Mahmood Habib from School of Business and Entrepreneurship, SB, Independent University, Bangladesh, or IUB. And then Dr. Abhishek Singh Pati, Campus Dean of James Cook University, Singapore. And well, our host speaker from Warmadewa University, Dr. Putu Murah Suyatna. Ladies and gentlemen, Kofi Annan, former Secretary General of the United Nations, has said, knowledge is power. Information is like birthday. Education is the premise of progress in every society and every family. So I believe that this word has given inspiration to many people all over the world to keep the knowledge and information to improve their quality of life, right? And what's about you? So, ladies and gentlemen, I'm Marik Suniastambata, is your moderator today. Welcome you again to this virtual international conference. Well, I do hope that you could enjoy it, and hopefully today you could get some more additional knowledge and information dealing with tourism, particularly from our great speakers today. And well, the existence of the COVID-19 pandemic has changed the landscape of the tourism industry, as well as the behavior of consumer or tourists who have adapted to new normal situation. So in this case, the stakeholder in tourism industry must be able to immediately adapt to the new normal disruption in order to survive and rise. The main key for tourism and creative economy actors to survive in the midst of this pandemic is to have good adaptability, innovation, and collaboration. The reason is that this time community actors are starting to change, and this is accompanied by safe in tourism trend. Well, the design of duplication without meeting other people, for example, has changed the trend of pure package service. The tourism industry players must start providing exclusive tour package service of many groups, so many tourists feel safer and minimize the potential for pirate transmission while on vacation. Meanwhile, in the term of tourism destination, many tourist attractions have been hit by the COVID-19 pandemic, and some have even been forced to close due to lack of visitors. For this reason, tourism actors must take advantage of technological innovation that play an important role in supporting tourism trends that are shifting in the merge of pandemic. One of which is paid for tourism or online vacation, for example. On the other hand, for the case of Bali, the paradigm of the tourism sector supported by the agricultural sector needs to be reviewed and consider the potential of the agricultural sector as the main priority of policy development, which is supported by tourism sector and SMEs. Right, ladies and gentlemen, to have tourism industry resilient in this new era, including how to bring back and rebuild the economy within tourism industry. And it's a good opportunity to have three distinguished speakers who will share their thoughts and experiences dealing with the new era for economic change in developing the tourism industry as the theme of our theme today. So, ladies and gentlemen, well, especially the respected speaker and participant. I hope you're all doing well and prudent. We well, this seminar is for the next 1.5 hours. We're going to enjoy our first session. Actually, there will be another section today, and the session for the first 45 minutes or 60 minutes, right? We're going to listen the presentation by distinguished speaker, right? The first, I'd like to invite Professor Dr. M.D. Mahmood Habib from School of Business and Entrepreneurship, SB, Independent University of Bangladesh, where he's going to present the topic tourism supply chain, and well, will be continued by Professor Dr. Abhishek Singh Bhatti from James Cook University with a topic post-COVID-19, where the coaches or courageous stable behavior, the case in short is Asia, and then well, last speaker will be the host speaker from Moderator University, Dr. Putu Nguraswiatnayasa. His topic today very interesting, foreign management economy. Well, ladies and gentlemen, it's time to invite our first speaker today. Good morning, Professor Dr. M.D. Mahmood Habib.
Yeah, good morning. Assalamualaikum.
Yes.
How are you?
Yeah, how are you?
Yeah, I'm okay.
Sorry, technically, I couldn't hear your voice.
Can you hear me?
Hang on. I think we don't need to use that one. Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, it's better. Professor, how are you, Professor?
Yeah, I'm okay.
Yeah, you're doing well. Yeah, thank you very much for joining us today. And well, I think the participants are very excited right today because yeah, because of you. And then well, I wanted today you could share your thoughts and experiences dealing with the theme of the international conference today. Ladies and gentlemen, well, the committee sent me Professor Dr. M.D. Mahmood Habib, right? He has very long CV, right? Totally professor. If I'm not mistaken, 73, right? So I have no time to read that all professor. So sorry. So probably I'm going to read well, some of them, right? So ladies and gentlemen, Professor Dr. M.D. Mahmood Habib is Professor at School of Business and Entrepreneurship, Independent University, Bangladesh, right? Well, he's the PhD scientist at the Department of Industrial Engineering of University of Texas, and Arlington, United States of America. He is also the adjunct professor at University Malaysia and UCSI Malaysia. Right at present, he is supervising 10. This is great. PhD scholars locally and internationally, and earlier 4 PhD scholars have been graduated. So, well, I see he is very expert on this one. And as a PhD examiner, he has several PhD involvement with what we call it UUM, UNIRASAC, and UNITAR, Asia University, IEU, Malaysia, the Samsung University of Thailand, Institute for Technology and Management, ITM University, and Berlin Institute of Technology, or BIT, Dame University, India. Also National Institute of Technology, NIT, India, SOA University, India, University of the Assumption, Philippines, Aligarh Muslim University. Well, ladies and gentlemen, he has 20 years experience in the field of teaching, training, workshop, consulting, and research. Well, ladies and gentlemen, actually, well, too many to read. about CV of Professor Dr. Maybe moment because the time limited. So Professor, I'd like to invite you now for the next 20 minutes to share your thoughts and experience to all the participants today. Professor?
Yes.
For the next 20 minutes, totally yours.
I think I can finish. Inshallah. Thank you. Thank you so much. So first of all, I'd like to give a special thanks to the organizer to invite me to deliver this keynote speech in this conference. Definitely, I'd like to give this special thanks to the Gita Nandi who invited me and the organizer. Basically, as we understand, this session will be held on the tourism arena, and my session is the tourism supply chain management. So that means I like to interrelate the two sectors. One is that tourism industry and a supply chain management. I like to integrate these two. So tourism supply chain management. So I'd like to start by the supply chain first, so that at least our audiences, they can get some idea about supply chain management. And then I integrated that supply chain management with the tourism industry so that we can understand what is our ultimate target in the tourism industry. You know that when you talk about the supply chain, the basic supply chain, basically we need the three entities. One is the raw material, finished product, supplier, customer, and finally flow of goods for manufacturing industry, flow of service for the service industry, and then flow of information, and final flow of fund. So these three things we have to need to count when you think any kind of supply chain, whatever, manufacturing industry, service industry. You know that if you think that like manufacturing industry supply chain management, then we have to think about this is a basic supply chain, like a supplier, there will be a supplier, there will be the manufacturer, there will be the distributor, retailer, and customer. And interestingly, if you think this one, that I already mentioned that basic supply chain. So there will be the supplier and customer, raw material come from supplier end. After the processing, finished product delivered to the customer end. And then you can see this is the raw material, the finished product. And what I said that there is a flow of goods from supply to customer, flow of information, flow of fund. When I discuss the tourism supply chain management, I like to show you the similar type of model so that we can understand that how we can incorporate the supply chain in the tourism industry. And now, this three parameters, manufacturing, distributor, whether it's available or not, it depends on the size of the business and the type of the business. Now, on the other hand, come to like basic supply chain for the service industry. As you understand that we are talking about the tourism industry, this is a service industry. So in the service industry, the same thing, we have to think about the like, there will be a supplier, there is a customer, raw materials to come from the supplier end. After the processing, finished product to the customer end, there is a service provider. And if you ask me what is the difference between the manufacturing and service industry, I would say that the main difference is that service industry, our main contribution to contribute to the society. So we like to add the values to the society. On the other hand, manufacturing industry, our main target, that is also contribute to the society, but they like to get the improved operation, they like to get the good profit, something like that. But service industry, our ultimate target, contribute to the society. So now come to the point is that what I said earlier, there is a flow of service, flow of information, and flow of fund. So our today discussion, basically tourism industry, so this is a service industry supply chain management. And we can apply the supply chain management in every sector, but you can see in the service industry, there is a tourism supply chain management. That is our main discussion, that how you can apply that supply chain management in the tourism industry. And now come to the question of why we have to do the supply chain management. I already mentioned that you know that in the service industry, in the service industry, one of the focusing point is how you can add the values to society, how you can produce the quality outcomes. So now we are working in the any service industry or any manufacturing industry. Our ultimate target is like that, but service industry, our main focusing is that contribute to the society. This is a historical evolution of supply chain management. If you ask me that the history, supply chain management started their journey in around the 1980s. This officially started the journey in supply chain management. And about 85% research belongs to manufacturing industry supply chain management. Only, you understand, only 15% research supply chain management in the service industry. So what I said that as an academician and as we are from the research point of view, we can do lots of things in the service industry supply chain management. And that's why today my discussion on the tourism supply chain management. As you know that I'm supervising the PhD student, I always invite my students to do the research on supply chain management in different area. So tourism is another area where we can add more values. You know that this is some of the examples, supply chain management in the manufacturing industry. You can see this one, there is a supply chain management in the RMG industry. This is one example, supply chain management in the RMG industry. This is the example of supply chain management in the fishing industry. This is another example is the supply chain management in the textile industry. So another example our service industry. You know, I already mentioned that you cannot get lots of research on supply chain management service industry. You see, this is one of the example of the supply chain management in the education institutions. Say, I personally designed the model ITESC model, Integrated Tertiary Educational Supply Chain Management model. So that is the model for the university supply chain management, for the academic supply chain management. So, you know, when you design any model, we have to ensure the one thing is that our main concept should be there. So look very carefully this one. I don't want to discuss too much about the education supply chain because today our discussion tourism supply chain management, but I like to give the few phenomena so that you can understand that those who work in the tourism industry, how you can design the similar type of supply chain model. So, you know, at first you have to think the input, process, and output. You have to think the input, process, and output. We call it the system. Say, education supply chain. There will be two input. One is the strength, and the internal external research project. And after the processing, finished products will deliver to the customer. So if you ask me in the university, how about the finished product? Two finished product. One is the graduates, another is that is outcomes. So it means the students will be converted to the graduates. Internal external project will be converted to these outcomes. And your ultimate target, what is said that both finished products will deliver to the will be contributed to the society, the consumer. So consumer is a major factor. So when you work in the tourism industry, we have to think the same way, that input, process, and output, and how we can add the values to the society. I don't want to talk too much about this one, but I like to mention the main thing is that if you look very carefully, there is a supplier and there is the service provider, and then customer, and finally the consumer. So now think about the everywhere when you design the supply chain management in the tourism industry, we have to identify these things. Suppliers, we have to identify the customers, we have to identify the service provider, we have to identify the society. I don't want to talk too much about this one. This is an example of the suppliers for the university, customer for the university, and then three different level for the supply chain management for the education institutions. So, you know, the supply chain, if you think the supply chain management, there are three decision level. So all the time you have to think, like the strategic level, planning level, operating level. So when you design the supply chain management, we have to ensure that these basic things is that strategic level means top level management, planning level means middle level management, and operating level is that line level management, the operating level management. So when we have to ensure these three different levels in the supply chain. So if we design the supply chain for the tourism industry, the same thing we have to focus how you can ensure the top level management, their ideology, and then how you can incorporate with the planning level, and the operating level. Now you can ask me, the strategic level means the top level means the, like suppose the government regulatory body, the top management, those who work in the industry, like the managing director, chairman, CEO, something like that. Planning level means the head of the department, like the head or the director, something like that. And operating level, those who are working in directly with the customer. So now you understand that when you design the tourism industry supply chain management, you have to think in that way. And then I don't want to talk too much this one. This is basically the additional supply chain management, but that's not our discussion. But in future, maybe we can also discover this issue. Let us start our main discussion for today, tourism supply chain management. I'd like to request the audience, I'll take another few minutes on this. This is a very important part for this session. And I request, if possible, the participants, you can turn on your camera, because you know that when you deliver the lecture in the online, if your camera is on, we can understand that I'm audible, means I'm delivering the lecture. But when your camera is off, sometimes you're confused that whether you are there or not, okay? Okay, so let us start what I said here. First of all, you have to confirm one thing is that tourism, I already mentioned that tourism is the one kind of service industry. So if you see supply chain management, the manufacturing industry has attracted widespread research interest over the past 2 decades, whereas the studies of supply chain management and tourism industry are very limited. If you check in the Google supply chain management and tourism industry, you cannot get lots of research. Stakeholders in the tourism industry interact with each other to resolve their divergent business objectives across the different operating systems. Now, this is a very important question. The tourism industry, those that are working in this area, the stakeholders, what is the main objective? I can remind you, the main objective is to add the values to the society. Say, if you think of Indonesia, those are working in the tourism industry in the Sumatra area, those are working in the Jakarta area, they all are contributing to the government, to the society. So look very carefully. Ultimate target, they contribute to the society. The potential benefit of considering not only individual enterprises, but also the tourism value chain becomes evident. Tourism value chain, how you can add the values to tourism industry. Yes, those who will work there, their target, they'll get the profit, they'll get the money, but that profit also utilized for the infrastructure development of the tourism industry. If you look very carefully, I like to discuss a little bit about this one. You can see this one very carefully here. See, we like to divide the 2 columns here, tourism characteristics, so those who are working in the tourism industry, and then tourism supply chain management issues. Look very carefully. In the tourism characteristics, we need coordination intensive, which is relevant to our 2-party relationships in the supply chain management concept, and as well as it is relevant to the tourism supply chain coordination. And the second characteristic of the tourism is the perishable and information intensive, product complexity, demand uncertainty, and complex dynamics. This is the characteristics in the tourism industry. Now come to the point, if you combine these tourism characteristics in our supply chain, look very carefully, perishable. This is a perishable we can use in supply chain, we call it using inventory management. Inventory management. Information intensive, this is a correlated in our supply chain, the tourism supply chain coordination and information technology. Today I manage the flow of information in the supply chain. Product complexity is relevant to our supply management and is relevant to our product development. Demand uncertainty, the tourism term, it is relevant to the inventory management as well as the tourism supply chain coordination. Complex dynamics. You know, nowadays in the tourism industry, it's a dynamics. It's not like the analog system you have to think. Now, people before coming to the Indonesia, before coming to the Java, they like to see everything in the website. So that means you have to confirm whether we have all kind of information is available or not. It is not like that they'll come to you, you will share. No, that is a very old technique. So that means we need the one dynamic website that will be the full of the information, where the people they can get the idea. And not only that, I like to add the other one. This is very important, coordination. Suppose you are working, you're one of the office in the Jakarta, another office in the Java. So how you can coordinate? Because the people, those who come from the overseas to visit the Java, they like to also come to the Jakarta. So if you do some coordination among the operator, it will be the fruitful something. That is what we call it, complex dynamics. It's not like the very easy way, they will come to you directly Java, no. Even if you think that like the flight, they are coming from the overseas. So what is their first stop? You have to understand. So that means you have to think that all kind of business operations based on this one. So I just give the few phenomena, the tourism characteristics, and how you can incorporate with the supply chain issues. And then this is the something we have to understand this core view of tourism supply chain management. You know, what is our objectives in our tourism industry? Our main objective is tourist satisfaction. This is our ultimate target. But we have to come from the sustainability. You know, particularly this kind of like you see that we are facing the pandemic the last more than 1 year. So already the number of tourists is declining. So now again changing the situation. So one of the targets is sustainable tourism industry. So that's why you have to confirm that how you can ensure this one. Definitely monetary value is another issue. We have to confirm the monetary value, and then what is it that demand uncertainty. Just now I mentioned pandemic issues. So now come to the point that how you can incorporate. Look very carefully. First of all, you have to think that what are your key tourism supply chain members. If you ask me this question, I will say, you just see when you're working in the tourism industry, you have to think about your customer, definitely, as well as you have to think about the government, because government support is very important. Without the government support, you cannot do anything. Then you have to think about the private organization, those who are working there. So you see, look very closely. They have to work: government, private sector, and then your customer. What they want to like to get it. You know that what I said that nowadays people when they visit any place, they don't want to just visit the place. They have some other options. You have to keep it. Like they like to stay in the hotel, nearby the hotel. There will be suppose sea beach or the mountain, whatever. But you have to that kind of hotel, that kind of arrangement, that kind of transportation system is very correlated. So you have to ensure the security issue. So you have to make sure that everything. Other questions, what is the market structure at each level? What are the power relationship? And what business processes link each other of the tourism supply chain members? I don't want to talk too much, but you have to understand this is a few questions we have to ask ourselves and how we can manage it. So you have to think that demand management, two-party relationship, I already mentioned this one, supply management, inventory management, product development, supply chain coordination. So you need the coordination. We need the coordination. And definitely IT is a very important issue. Nowadays, what I said that we have to get that all kind of information. People, they will not come to directly the Java at first. And so they will not book the vehicles, they will not book the other something. They would like to come from the earlier to the website. So you need that kind of IT facilities in the whole supply chain in the tourism industry. And there's a decision of variables. You have to think like what is the early government session, the capital investment, and then price setting, how you can do this one. Now the competitive market, and what is the target to get, product differentiation. You know, I know as I travel the lots of country during the conference, as I deliver the lecture keynote speeches all over the world, I noticed that there is some of the countries like Singapore, they have the all kind of provision. Even in the hotel lobby, they have agents. So they try to attract the customer from there. So what I said that we need that kind of mechanism, so that everywhere we have to work with the tourism sector. Sorry. And then you have to prepare the scheduling, a tour scheduling, like the day 1, 2 days package, 3 days package, 1 day package, half day package, and maybe there will be 3 or 4 places. So that means the 3 or 4 places people, they have to work together. And finally, you have to think the performance measurement and how about our performance in terms of finance, in terms of operation, and the solution methodology, how you can how can get the better service. Our ultimate target is the better service for the customers. This is one of the example of tourism supply chain. Excuse me, can I get a few minutes, 2 to 3 minutes? to finish?
Yes, please, Professor.
Thank you so much. Yeah. So you see, when you design the tourism supply chain, this is one kind of example. I would say the typical example of this one. Look very carefully. Did you notice one thing is here? This information flow. You have to ensure that you have the information flow from supply to customer. Supply means you have to provide all information. What I said that hotel, transport, you have to do all information there, and about the sightseeing, what type of site they can visit, everything information flow, and then service flow. So make sure that from supply to customer, you have to ensure the information flow as well as the service flow. How you can coordinate these two things. And now you can ask me that supplier. I would say that there are different types of supplier. One type of supplier, the type of supplier means you have to do the food and drink manufacturer. What I said that they have to confront, you have to come to the hotel management. There is a tourist place, hotel. Food and drink, who will provide? And equipment. You need the craft producers. You need the waste and recycling disposal. I noticed that lots of tourist countries, if you go to the San Francisco, you can see the USA. Their tourist place, they are keeping the all options for the recycling. So you have to think of how can manage the wastes. So because the people, they are throw the products, the wastes product in the sea, in the mountain, in the road is not good for the tourist people. So you have to ensure this one, how you can mechanize this one. Furniture manufacturer. So you have to confirm this a few things. Water and energy suppliers, electricity, water supply, something like that. This is suppliers end. Iron one suppliers, accommodation, transportation, excursion, shopping. You have to have shopping mall. At least a few shopping mall you have to keep it. Even it is not need like the 5-star shopping mall. But at least the shopping mall that the people even they can buy the product from the nearby to the sea beach, nearby to the road. And the dining as well. So this is very correlated with this one. So now you have to think, you like to do you have one organization, they are working for the tourism sector. So you have to coordinate with these things. So they have some relationship. For operator, again, I remind you, not only one operator, few operator, because some of them they're responsible for the Java, some of them they're responsible for Jakarta, some of them responsible for the other state of Indonesia. They have to do the coordination. That's a tour operator 1, 2, 3. And operator, they have some agent. What I said, even in the hotel, suppose in the any kind of 5-star hotel, in the lobby, you have an agent. In the beside the road, there will be some agent. So then they have to coordinate with you. And finally, the tourists from the target market. See how you can coordinate the customers. So look very carefully. I said the suppliers, tier 2 suppliers, tier 1 suppliers, the tour operator, tour agent, travel agent, and then finally the customer. Look very carefully. How we manage this coordination. That is our tourism supply chain management. That is our discussion for today. So it is not like that at a single hand you can manage. You have to do the coordination of this one. This is one of the example tourism supply chain management in South Africa. So there is some few parameters we mentioned. I don't want to discuss at this stage, but it's very interesting that you have to think that how we can improve our tourism supply chain management. And finally, this my keynote speech particularly provides a systematic review of current tourism studies from the tourism supply chain management perspective and develops a framework for the tourism supply chain management. So again, I remind you, you have to think about this one's supplier end and the service provider. This is the tourism sector, and service provider is what I said earlier, that you have to think about the travel management, tour operator, something like that. And finally, you have to think about the customer and an ultimate target contribute to the society. So this study should be a great value, not only to those who wish to extend the research into this new and exciting area. I used to say this exciting area, tourism sector, but also to tourism and hospitality decision makers. Particularly those are policy makers in the tourism industry. They have to think now how they can add the more values. And I would use the one term, they have to be the more innovative in the tourism sector. More innovation in the tourism sector. And I remember that a few months before I was delivering on Keynote Speech in the IEEE conference in Indonesia. There was a minister of the tourism minister. He was there. And I surprised to his session because when he delivered the lecture, he said that adding some innovation. Even, you know, that when he was delivering the lecture in the conference, inaugural the conference, he was then traveling from the one place to another place. You see, this kind of internet facilities is very important. It is not like the people now, they do not bother anything. They like to see in the mobile, but there is no internet. How they'll manage? So we need the information flow in this way. So finally, this keynote speech identifies the few key research questions in the tourism sector, particularly for the future critical and exploration and exploration in the tourism sector. Again, once a time, I remind you that this tourism sector is a very, I would say, the excitement sector. So we have to work lots of things, but we have to think from the supply chain point of view. So that's all from my side. Thank you so much. If is there any question, I'd like to request you can allow from the participants. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, Prof. Habib, for the great presentation. And actually, well, you spent 20 minutes, right? And you still have time, Professor. If there is any question from the participant, would you have time and answer?
Actually, we can allow the 1 or 2 questions if possible.
Okay.
Any question?
Yes, I heard that you you have a schedule outside.
Yeah.
After this one. All right. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, that was great presentation given by.
Yeah. If you have any further question, even you can send the email to me.
Okay.
And
yes.
I can respond. So thank you so much.
We will do that. Thank you so much,
Yeah,
Professor.
my pleasure. My pleasure.
All right, participant, would you please give very big applause for his presentation? Thank you, Professor. Hopefully one day we could do it offline directly here and apply to our
in future, inshallah.
Hopefully soon,
Inshallah.
right? Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, Professor Habib has just presented his thoughts related with the tourism supply chain management, right? Including what actually she offers the what we call as SCM, supply chain management, needed in, let's say, recovering the tourism in this pandemic, including it was also model development about the implementation of SCM, right? Especially in tourism, and of course, he just also explained us tourism characteristic and is which is very interested for us. One simple question, Professor Habib. Actually, we all hope that, especially we are in Bali, right? So tourism is the main sector, the leading sector. Almost 80% of the economic development depend on the tourism. So of course, you just presented a bit the, let's say, supply chain viewpoint. Little bit probably one question to you, Professor. How would you see from the demand viewpoint, Professor?
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
If you ask this question, I try, last few years before the pandemic, I was traveling a few times in Bali for the international conference. And not only that, I invited my family members to join with me. So now come to the question, not only for conference. So this is the thing is that conference plus visit the site. So tourism is also part of the conference. Not only that, when you arrange the conference in the one day or the conference, there is second day the traveling, sightseeing, site visiting. So they have the tour, what do you call it, the tour management, tour operators, they also connected with the conference, part of the tourism. So even they're organizing why you are choosing the Bali. The main reason is that sightseeing. The main reason is the tourist places. Now, part of the question is the demand. You were asking the demand. You know, demand, or sometimes you also create the demand. Bali is a place where you can see the sea beach from your hotel room. Bali is a place where you can see the natural beauty from the very closely you can see. I still recall that Bali, there is the raining, there is a sea beach in front of you, this is coming. So it's a different experience. Now, what I said that you need you have to create the demand. So promotional activities is the most important thing, the promotional activities. I believe that your current government, particularly the tourism sector government, the minister is very proactive in this area, but it is not only job on the government, private sector. So that is something, what is the private sector, government, and then those who work in that industry. They have to work together. So that is the quality supply chain, is coordination, closely monitor. And you have to create this demand. What I said that you have to think, suppose now I'm the university professor, suppose you are the university people. It is not like that we don't have the responsibility. Yes, we have responsibility. My responsibility, I'm talking about the Jakarta, I'm talking about the Bali, I'm talking why? Because it's a tourist place. They have to know, the participants, they have to understand, oh, this is a very interesting place. Why don't I can visit? Today I'll visit, next day I'll invite my family members, and then next time I'll invite my friends. So that is the way how we can create the demand for our tourist places. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Professor. Right. So, Professor, well, actually, committee has scheduled for after presentation section, there will be special discussion section, right? Yeah. So I think, how about we open mic, offer to the participant probably. Ladies and gentlemen, all the discussion participants, would you please just raise your up? And then it's open mic for you to probably raise a question to Professor Habib before it's leaving our virtual room today. Please, is there any?
Any question from the audiences? I think they're scared of the English.
That's one of the problem, actually, Professor.
I know. Why don't you can talk with in your language and you can convert to me?
Yeah. So no problem. No, actually, yeah, Bapak Ibu, if you have a question, just let us know, right? Or you could use it in Bahasa, and then I could translate it to Professor Habib. Okay, one probably well, consider this presenting the participant professor. Let me ask you another question. About the tourism, what happened probably also know about what happened in the case of tourism in Bali, Indonesia. And, well, our government has policy change almost 2 months ago to open border, right? It's allowed 19 countries come to Bali, but until now, almost none of the foreign tourists come to Bali. Well, again, related the big question, how to, let's say, recover the tourism in Bali. Again, because while talking about the economic development in Bali, we thought tourism. Well, of course, Dr. Pudisatne also will present, will share his thoughts about the foreign economy as the alternative, creative economy alternative instead of tourism. But Professor Habib, what is your thoughts for this one?
Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah. This is our, the pandemic time. And we are passing the pandemic time, almost near to 2 years. And this is the problem, not only that the foreign people, they're not coming. The problem is their own country, because now if you like to travel, the problem is that, that we have to some quarantine issue and other issues. So there's lots of financial issues. And another one thing is that that your availability of the aircraft. I know that from suppose earlier I was when I was in Malaysia, there's a direct flight from any state from the Malaysia to the Indonesia. Even there was a direct flight from Bangladesh, from my native country, Bangladesh, to Dhaka, directly to Bali. And then when the customers, couldn't get lots of customers, then they stopped this kind of direct flight. Look very carefully, that depends on the customer demand. And now you said that the border was open the two months before, but still you couldn't get the foreign people. The main reason is that people now, they're too much worried about the health issue, pandemic issue, COVID-19 issue. I believe the situation will be changed, inshallah. We have to think the positive. But another one thing, at this stage now, government, they can do something, or the private sector, they can do something. Reduce the fee. Entry fee. Earlier it was suppose that earlier it was suppose the $20. Now you can reduce this one to the $5. Reduce the entry fee. Number one. Number two, you have to put the more promotion activities rather than earlier. So change our system, because we have no other option. So suppose if they visit this place, they will get another additional. Suppose something like that, buy one get one free. So if they visit this place, he will give the promotion for another place. Yes. So that is something we have to change the mechanism, because we have to create the popularity of the Bali. And you know, Bali is the place, that unbelievable place. You cannot get the customer, you cannot get the tourist. So the situation is the pandemic. So I like to blame the pandemic at first. This is not in our hand. It belongs to Almighty Allah only. But the second thing, what you said, that we can do something, promotion activities, at least try to attract. And I believe even the Indonesia, inside the Indonesian people, huge demand of Bali. Their vacation, their any kind of conference, they like to choose their Bali. Malaysian people, they can come directly to the Indonesia. So that is another way of thinking. We are not thinking about the tourists will come from the USA, the tourists will come from the Canada, tourists will come from Australia, Europe. At least the neighboring country from Asian. So this is the focusing point now. So that when you get some tourists from the neighboring country, then we can go to the next level of the customers. Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
It's clear. Thank you, Rob. Yeah. Thank you so much, Rob Habib. Again, because of we have a limited time.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you again.
Thank you for inviting me.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye.
Yeah.
Well, okay. Thank you.
Assalamualaikum.
Well, yeah, walaikum salam. Right, Professor. Thank you so much again. Right, ladies and gentlemen. We need to continue now. Directly, I would like to invite Professor Abhishek Singh Bhatti. Right. Hopefully, Professor Abhishek Singh Bhatti.
Hello.
Yes.
Hello, everyone. Very good morning.
Yeah, very good morning. How are you, Professor?
I'm very well, thank you. How about yourself?
Yeah, we are all doing well. Thank you, and thank you again for joining us today. And I guess I do believe that also the participants they are very excited. Will joining your presentation today, and of course. You okay, right? You have time today, all right, Professor? So
yes, absolutely.
Okay, thank you. Right.
Yeah, looking forward to it.
Okay, thank you so much, because Prof having request us to leave earlier, right? Okay, ladies and gentlemen, Professor Abhishek Singh Bhatti, Professor, let me just read your CV at glance, right? Because also too many requests, and then we have enough time. He is the campus dean of James Cook University campus, as campus dean DCU Singapore, and also he contributes to GCU initiative in the tropical Asia. Professor Abhishek. Areas of expertise is responsible for tourism. It's great to have you today, because the theme related with tourism and smart city and tourism also. Tourism, United Sustainable Development Goals and resilience planning in tourism. This is the last one is great. And also in research, one of them, let me read one, contributed to the development of the of a set of intervention strategies to address parallelism at visitor attraction, inform National Research Council talents position paper on the review of tourism policy and boycott and the others. And okay, here's a relevant research publication. For example, let me read one, Betty. Psychographic variables, tourist behavior and vandalism in the Southeast Asian tourism sector. Also, some more others. Ladies and gentlemen, is Vice President, Regional International Tourism Studies Association, and then PhD Tourism Management, James Cook University again, MBA Marketing Management, Maastricht School of Management, the Netherlands, also great. Bachelor of Art, Economic Bombay University. Oh, is educational background, and then he also got diploma in adult and continuing education, DAC, Institute of Adult Learning Singapore. All right, ladies and gentlemen, well, for the next 20 minutes, let's have this presentation with the topic post-COVID-19, coaches or courageous triple behavior. In the case of it's very interesting also, Professor. COVID-19, is it challenge or opportunity probably? All right, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Prof. Abhishek Singh Bhatti. Time is totally yours, Professor. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much for the kind introduction. I'm humbled, and it also gives me, pleasure and honor to present at this first Faculty of Economics and Business International Conference at WARMADEWA University. Yes, I am joining from Singapore, James Cook University, Singapore. James Cook University is an Australian university, but we have a fully owned campus here in Singapore, and that's where I am situated right now. Singapore is opening up, but as we all know, we are still going through the pandemic. And more than that, today I also would like to talk about ITSA, International Tourism Studies Association, and how last year, we had this conference, ITSA conference in Jakarta, where we looked at Trisakti and other universities to work together, and then JCU was very much involved in that. Of course, pandemic is here, and as Professor Mahmood was saying earlier, pandemic situation, it will not go overnight. It will continue for some time. So the tourism sector really needs to be resilient. My presentation this morning is about a paper that I'm co-authoring with some of my colleagues. Part of it is already published in CIT, Current Issues in Tourism, one of the top 10 journals in tourism. And of course, we are also continuing to publish in other journals. So very happy to extend the research with any of the colleagues at WARMADEWA or other audience who would like to work with us and grow tourism research in the future. So please allow me to share my presentation, and I'm trying to search, where did it go?
Go on, Professor.
Sure, thank you. Yeah. Just give me a minute. I'm trying to settle my presentation. So as I was saying, ITSA is quite a popular tourism organization, and we do research in many parts of, and of course in Asia, Asia Pacific, but even other parts. So just give me a minute.
Yes, that's okay. Yep. Yeah. Just take your time, Professor.
Yep. Are you able to see the share screen or actual presentation?
Professor.
Start.
Yes, we could see it clearly.
Okay, now I think you should see full screen, yeah?
Yeah, that's better, Professor. Thank you.
Okay, great. Fantastic. Thank you. Thank you for that confirmation. So yeah, as you can see from the title, this presentation is focused on post-pandemic, what is going to happen, let's say, in the future, next year and beyond, and more importantly, looking into welfare gains through a bottom-up tourism recovery. And then, as you appreciate, bottom-up is, we're looking at how the tourism sector itself can spearhead this recovery rather than wait for government initiatives. Government initiatives are important, but that may not be the only thing. So let me set the ball rolling by giving you some background. So, if you look at the most recent disruption, let's not talk about Omicron. The previous one was Delta, the variant we had for COVID-19. And Delta, this did risk this global economy. And as you can see there, the graph towards the left is the GDP growth rate, and the graph towards the right is the number of COVID cases. Now, this data is from Oxford Economics. So if you go to Oxford Economics, you'll be able to find more about this. But the important thing is that the world economy is still growing over time. Even with the pandemic situation, there is growth in the economy. As you would see from this graph here, see from this graph here, this is where we are at the moment. And although there was this kink in the global demand, but the GDP across regions are going to grow. So whether it is one of the largest markets, China, whether it's APEC, excluding China, which includes Indonesia, Singapore, and the rest, or North America, and of course the Eurozone. So there is demand that is going to recover, and the future years in terms of tourism should be positive. Some more statistics and data on this would be what some other macroeconomic variables. So here I'm looking at inflation, and one of the key things that is of concern certainly is how inflation is rising. If you look at this data is more or less from advanced economies, but if you look at most advanced economies, they're seeing a spike in inflation, and the graph towards the right is more towards Australia. JSU is an Australian university, so we do focus on what's happening in Australia. So, of course, while GDP is going to grow, there are some challenges such as inflation. Inflation can go both ways. Can be good, or some controlled inflation is definitely good. But if you look at total factor productivity, TFP, the total factor productivity has certainly taken a hit, and in many countries it has even become negative. So most countries, again, these are the OECD countries. You can see that total factor productivity, for the next 10 years would be lower than what was in the past. So a lot of these factors have pushed us into our research, where we look into how COVID-19 has been handled, and what are the trends. So of course, if you look at the tourism field, again, as Professor Mahmood was talking about supply chains, there are some aspects of airlines, suspended operation, healthcare capacity restriction, and more importantly, the travelers themselves. So if tourism has to revive or has to grow, it is really important that there is confidence within the travelers, because if the travelers are willing to travel, willing to go overseas, whether it is regional travel, like within ASEAN, from Singapore to Indonesia, Bali is a very popular destination with Singaporeans, even with Australians, or intra-regional or inter-regional, whether tourists from North America and Europe would come here. But again, even from government perspective, most governments have diverted their funds to the pandemic recovery, and there are shortages, of course, in tax receipt as well as budget diversion. So this paper, or the presentation which I'm going to share next, let's say 15 minutes or so, is focused more on how to make our travelers, visitors, more resilient. So this one specific bit here, scared travelers, and how we can work towards that. So as we look into it, what we have done is we have extended a very popular theory called PMT, Protection Motivation Theory. It was first introduced by Jacobs in 1970s, but and this theory talks about how destination risk or image of destination risk impact tourist travel intention in the future. So we have we have extended this model by looking into health risk and tourist perception. If you are interested, I'm happy to share more, but this is what the model basically is, and I'll spend a little bit of time on the model so that you can understand the objectives a bit better. So on the left-hand side, you have the destination health risk image here. So whether it is Singapore, Bali, Jakarta, or whether it's KL, every destination has a health risk image in the minds of the travelers. And this health risk image influences or impacts their future travel intention. And the future travel intention can then be classified into three: cautious behavior, somebody who's very risk averse; conscious behavior, somebody who wants to travel but is more looking into logical reasons; or courageous behavior, where, as we know, as the pent-up demand, that moment the vaccinated travel links or the bubble travel started, many people, booked flights and they wanted to travel. So that becomes courageous behavior. So how could we look at tourists who would come from these different behavioral aspects? What we are doing, what I have done here is, we have introduced two mediators here. One is health protective behavior, which is really important. How people perceive, the hygiene and the physical health and mental health in the destination where they're going to travel to. And of course, the second mediator then becomes this media engagement, a very, very important factor. In fact, media has been discussed quite a lot in the current literature in terms of tourist behavior management. And whether it is the mass media, social media, or destination websites. Earlier on, we had the deputy governor of Bali who addressed to us, and how can they, the government machinery, assist and manage this communication so that travelers are more confident about traveling to destinations like Bali. So we are going to explore these two mediators, the role of these two mediators, health protective behavior, and of course, tourist media engagement. So as you appreciate, in order to analyze, we looked at a triangulation, and that's why the study becomes very, very detailed. We did a thematic analysis of post-pandemic travel behavior, which is, we looked at all the secondary data, publications, whether it's available in open media or publications of specific travel websites or travel groups. And of course, second, we looked at an ethnographic study. We looked at social media and responses of travelers who have traveled or who intended to travel in social media platforms and blogs. This was very useful. And of course, these two qualitative approaches were then supported by a quantitative survey, which was SQM or structure equation model-based approach. So I'll just quickly go through the methodology so that it becomes much clearer to you. So for the study one, which was a thematic analysis, we looked at secondary data, key industry reports, and of course, then that thematic analysis, we decoded them, as what you do in qualitative analysis, and we came out with our results. The second study, which was an ethnography, our data was user-generated content, so mostly comments by people, respondents on the social media network. And we focused on top 6 markets, and you can see Indonesia is here. So these are top 6 markets, Australia, China, India, Indonesia, Japan, and USA. So these are top 6 markets of tourists coming into Singapore. So the focus was Singapore, but these are the groups of tourists that came to Singapore. And we looked at about 200 over comments in the last quarter of 2020. It's very specific, after the first wave of COVID-19 pandemic. And that led to, sentiment analysis and other things which we tested through Qualtrics text IQ software. And the final quantitative analysis was a survey of top tourist generating markets. So Australia, China, India, Indonesia, Japan, and of course, USA, the same 6 markets, to Southeast Asia. And more importantly, we had about 627 completed responses. And we used SEM, structured equational modeling, to based on PLS to come with our findings. I'll quickly go to the findings, and hopefully there may be some questions from the audience if they find that the presentation is a bit too brief. So this was a sentiment analysis. And as you can see there, if you look at the legend here, where are the sentiments coming from? The negative, which are the dark red sentiments. Yeah? So most of the sentiments that people have are related to health. If you look at mental health, about 34%, sorry if you can't read the percentage here, about 34% was extremely negative, and another very high, close to 50% was negative. The second one, physical health, people concerned about health, mental health and physical health. So once again, as you can see here, the dark red and orange, these two were close to 90%. Yeah? Hygiene, social media were not very active, but mass media, again, was very influential, with the mean sentiment of 0.82, which is extremely high. And of course, even websites, destination websites. So all this sentiment analysis shows that how people thought, whether they had positive or negative views about traveling overseas based on these six main parameters: social media, hygiene, mass media, websites, health, physical and mental health. So physical and mental health became the most important factors to be considered. So again, I'm not sure. Just give me a minute. I'm not sure there seem to be.
Yes, just gone, Professor.
Yeah. So I'll have to stop sharing because I wanted to show the three hypotheses, but somehow the three hypotheses have disappeared. So I'll just come to those three hypotheses in a while. And I'll talk about it, because what we did, of course, as you would do in most quantitative analysis, you would look at the hypothesis and then talk about those hypotheses. So, so here we go. Should be able to share this with you now. Apology for this. There we go. Let me share now. Come on. To share. So presentation. So this is where I was. My apologies. As I said earlier, we looked at the health. Yeah, mental and physical health certainly had a huge impact as compared to the other factors. And we looked at hypotheses. So the first hypothesis was whether, remember we looked at the two different mediators. So the first mediator, destination health risk image, had a negative effect on travel behavior. And the first study definitely showed that there's perceived severity of health risk is very high. Travelers from the 6 destinations, the 640 travelers, they were very much interested in this. People were worried about travel safety and health and hygiene. The results were confirmed by our ethnography, which is the social media analysis, which also said that the perceived severity of health-related risk is extremely high. And of course, individual perceived vulnerability, in terms of cancellation and change of travel plans. People were not sure how to react if such things would happen. And of course, finally, in our study 3, which was a quantitative analysis, it was supported, that there was the health risk image had a positive effect on health protective behavior. So that meant that our first hypothesis that destination health risk has negative effect on travel behavior was accepted. Our second hypothesis, just health protective behavior mediates the relationship between destinations. So this is how we looked at our mediator. So once again, the very first study showed that, yes, the people were worried about, things like discrimination, mental health, and that made them cautious behaviors, or cautious tourists. Study 2, which was an ethnographic, also supported that COVID-19 had a strong effect on physical health, and that forced people to change their decisions from traveling.
I'm sorry for interrupting, Professor. Your time almost.
Okay, I'll be fast. Just give me a few minutes.
Thank you.
I'll be fast. Yeah, and of course, so yeah, just for a quick summary, that our second hypothesis was also supported, and the third hypothesis, which was more about was more about tourist media engagement and relationship between health risk, image, and behavior, was also supported. So, in other words, our conclusions are such that yes, the paper makes a significant contribution to relationship that yes, tourist engagement and tourist media and tourist engagement media is important, and media plays a crucial role in ensuring whether tourists will be more resilient, will be more receptive to traveling in the future. And the last one, which is really important, tourists will shift towards courageous behavior once the risk image of destination improves. So, of course, we make several contributions, both theoretical and practical. Theoretical contribution is more about the evaluating the mediating role of one, media engagement, and two, the health protective behavior, and both are proved in our study. And in terms of our practical contribution, which are more relevant to policymakers and practitioners, that we need to have strategies for targeted communication to tourists, depending upon which market they come from. And if we are able to convince them and show it to them that our destination, whether it's Bali, Singapore, Jakarta, whatever it is, if it is safe, then people will definitely travel. So rebuilding the image through knowledge of risk severity, possibility of control, and of course, potential solution to the destination. So my apologies if I had to rush through the presentation, but this is a very important continuing conversation in how we need to make tourism sector more resilient, and by involving the tourism sector rather than hoping for government to come up with all the initiatives, involving the tourism sector and resulting in a larger welfare for the entire economy. So let me pause here. Thank you very much for the
Thank you very much, Professor. Exactly, you spent 20 minutes actually. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, that was presentation by Professor Abhishek, which is very interesting. She just presented various study, of course, still dealing with related with our topic, our theme today. Well, certainly the resilience of the tourism. Professor, I'm interested in practical contribution that you offered this now with setting the strategies for growing international tourism. Hopefully, it's beneficial also can give contribution could be implemented also later on to the tourism in Indonesia, especially Bali, probably from some aspect. And while recognizing media is an effective solution also, right, for the recovery and tourism. This, I think, I do believe that it's very important at the moment, especially in this pandemic. Social media plays very, very important role related dealing with tourism development and rebuilding the image through knowledge of risks, spreading possibilities of control and potential solution of the destination. All right, Professor, thank you very much once again for sharing your thoughts for today. And again, because we have limited time, just enjoy your time, right? Let me continue inviting the next speaker, and then we open discussion section. Is it sure. Okay, Professor?
Absolutely. Very happy to
thank you so much.
Talk about it.
Thank you so much. All right. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, last but not least, let me invite our host speaker from WARMADEWA University is Dr. Putung Rashiat, right? A Doctor of Development of Economic. At the moment, he in charge is the secretary of the postgraduate program, WARMADEWA University, and he also has some experience with and campus activity dealing with the research, and also as consultant in some research in almost in all regions in Bali province. And well, he frequently invited as speaker, like talking about financial person protocol for our local province Bali Parliament, regional finance and accounting system, what we call as LPPD and LKPG in the Parliament. They did it with the, of course, financial management, capacity building and monitoring and evaluation of the local Parliament of Bali Province. And Dr. Putri Suyatna, Pak Putri. Om Swastiastu, Pak Putri. Good afternoon. Pak Putri Suyatna.
Good afternoon.
Right. How are you?
Good afternoon, Pak Kade. How fine?
Good afternoon, right? Okay.
I'm fine in Semarang.
Oh, you're in Semarang, all right. So,
yeah.
Okay. How was your flight, sir?
A nice flight.
Yeah, since
the weather is bright and a little bit of cloudy.
Yeah, yeah. Since we have well, Semeru Agung eruption, I wonder, well, you get a little problem for your flight.
Yeah, no problem.
No problem. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, well, since Dr. Putri Suyatna is ready, she's going to present his thoughts with the topic, the existence of orange economic to boost the economic growth in Bali. It's well, very interesting topic, and we know again, everyone, for the case of the economic development in Bali, we focus on the tourism. For how about for the future, do we still only focus on tourism, or we do some other efforts to develop economic itself, right? So I'm directly invite Dr. Suyatna to present his topic. To Bapak Dr. Putri Suyatna, time for the next 20 minutes is yours. Thank you. You could start now.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Firstly, I wish BKFA happy birthday. Yeah, I hope that in the future, the Faculty of Economic and Business, WARMADEWA University will be more successful, both at the national and international level. Congratulations to Pak Sarel and the big family of economic and business. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to present my paper related to the existence of orange economic in Bali. Yeah. The current economic civilization has undergone a change from an economic life supported by agriculture and industry to an information-based economy, especially the impact of the very rapid development of communication technology. This condition has led human civilization into new arena of social interaction that has never been imagined before. The current economic info of mankind has entered a new orbit, with it called the orbit of the creative economy, creative-based economy, or sometimes called orange economy. In this orbit, the demand for excellence in creation and innovation are more dominant. The question is why orange economy? This question is closely related to the use of orange color related to culture, creativity, identity in the people's life in general. In Asian culture, the color orange is widely used as a symbol, including in Confucianism as the color of souls, the spirit of transformation. In Hinduism, the orange color indicates the color of sadhu, which is a holy person who wandering the world, and as the color of the chakra located below the navel as the symbol of a creative power in every human being. In Buddhism, the color is also a symbol of a holy person. Orange is also the color of fire, which shows the strength of creativity and unlimited of ability. Because creativity and culture do not have branding activities that come from this two factors are called economic orange. The orange economic is the group of linked activities through which ideas are transformed into cultural goods and service whose value is determined by intellectual property. The orange universe includes firstly the culture of economic and the creative industry, which share the conventional culture industry, and secondly the creative supporting activities. The culture economic is composed of all traditional artistic activities, all activities related to the preservation and transmission of cultural heritage and the conventional cultural industry. Creativity supporting activities, creative research, development, and innovation consists of orange, R&D, technical skill development, or creative activities. Government and intellectual property right, and professional creative education. The creative industry combine the conventional cultural industry and functional creation, new media, and software. Fact about the orange economy in the world. Orange economy plays an important role in the world economy. The following fact shows that. Firstly, the orange economy is able to absorb more than 3,000 million workers in the world. And secondly, has an economic value of more than $4.29 trillion. And thirdly, has an export value of more than $22.2 trillion, making in the 9th largest export value in the world. And number 4, contributed 6.1% to the world economy. And last, number 5, is the 4th largest contributor to the world economy, amounting to $70.4 trillion. And how about the orange economy in Indonesia? In Indonesia, the orange economy, which is incorporated in the creative industry based on local wisdom, is able to make a significant contribution to the Indonesian economy, which amount to more than $900 in and 22.59 in 2011, and increased to more than 1,000 trillion rupiah to GDP in 2020. The existence of this industry has contributed 7.44% of the national economy. In 2011, the number of creative industry in Indonesia was 8.2 million and currently increasing significantly. The export value of the creative industry was $22.07 billion in 2019 and absorbed a workforce of 10 million people activities. Technological existence in the form of work equipment and information technology for wide market access is include in the promotional activities. And what about the real condition of orang economic in Bali? Sorry, we must go back to a previous slide. The island of Bali, with an area of more than 5,000 kilometers square, spread over 9 regencies, and has a population of more than 4 million people. There are at least 3 main elements that become one unit that must be understood comprehensively about Bali, namely nature, human, and culture. With the natural characteristic of Bali, Balinese people, life, and culture, which are integrated into a system of community life based on the value of custom, religion, and traditional art, culture, and local wisdom. Bali has become a small island that has uniqueness and is grand and beautiful, sacred place that has attracted worldwide attention as world famous tourist destination in the world. The structure and the fundamental of the Balinese economy are still dominated by tourism sector and its supporter, namely 56.78%. The tourism sector has a dominant contribution to the Bali economy, but is very vulnerable to the influence of external factors, including the effect of COVID-19, which has caused Bali's economic growth to experience the lowest contraction among all provinces in Indonesia. To strengthen the structure and fundamental of the Balinese economy, one of the important sectors must be developed and empowered is the creative industry based on local wisdom. The number of this industry in Bali in 2018 was 15,198 units, with a contribution of more than 6% per year, occupies the second largest position in Bali province after the wholesale and retail business field. But the problem of orang economic in Bali is in effort to increase productivity. Most of the creative industry in Bali state that they have the following problem: capital difficulties, skill worker, limited of product marketing area, low competitiveness, limited of low raw material, limited mastery and use of technology in production, and not having a business license. Problem in marketing experienced by most creative industry in Bali are tight competition with relatively similar product, lack of promotion through the media, print and electronic media, or the internet, and the dominance of promotion thus far is word of mouth. Difficult in obtaining raw material and a low ability of human resources to conduct a promotion. The creative industry in Bali predominantly expect the presence of the government to provide assistance in access of capital at low interest rate. Bureaucracy in applying to credit is still complicated, and education and training program related to skill needed for production with various institutions.
Excuse me for interrupting, Doctor.
Yeah.
Your time is nearly up. Thank you. Yes,
Now,
you could continue.
what about the fact about orang economic in Indonesia? In Indonesia, the orang economic which is incorporated in the creative industry based on local wisdom, as well to make a significant contribution for all of the people of Indonesia. But in Bali, creative industry is very important also for all people in Bali, especially to support the tourism activities in Bali. And as the conclusion of our research in Bali, that given the main problem faced in creative industry in Bali is the law of economic of skill of business. An effort to increase economic of scale should be made by increasing the quantity and quality of product, such as effort can be done by increasing market access, which thus far is still locally based, including encouraging export effort by producing premium product. And also to increase the quantity and quality of production, the role of input factor, namely business capital, skill labor, availability of raw material, technology, production, and marketing technology. Business licensing and patent right need to be improved. These factors are at the same time the main problem faced by creative industry in increasing the action. Access to capital can be done by empowering finance. This is the model we propose for our research. Access to capital can be done to empowering financial institutions owned by traditional village in Bali, namely the village credit institution, or we call it LPD in Bali, which are integrated with the Balinese Development Bank, or we call it BPD in Bali. However, the relatively high interest rate is an obstacle for creative industry, as well as having a business license. For this reason, a loan effort through the LPD is required with an interest rate that is relatively lower than the current one. LPD is in all traditional villages in Bali can be used as a special institution for lending and a saving fund for creative industry. The model for improving the quality of human resources for creative industry is through the establishment of the creative industry clinic here. In each district in Bali as a leading institution in effort to improve human resource skill. Training effort are directed from the upstream to the downstream. That is from the process of providing input, the product production, process marketing, the product include packaging, depending on the urgency of the training required. A model that can be built to overcome input and marketing problem is to form and empower village-owned enterprise, or we call it BUMDes. BUMDes now is very popular in Bali because all of element in Bali now still try to build the BUMDes that are integrated with the regional companies. The role of BUMDes is a channel for input from regional companies established by the provincial government of Bali. In addition to being a collector and marketer for a product produced by creative industry, this role includes establishment of a partnership with various institutions and medium and large business, such as supermarket and modern souvenir market, and that already exists at home and abroad. Revitalization and empowerment, as well as structuring traditional souvenir market and village market, are important to be continued as the spearhead of marketing in each village. that can be managed by BUMDes as one of the BUMDes business unit. A traditional market must be managed with a touch of modern technology based arrangement while still prioritizing the local wisdom of each district. Local government need to provide information technology assistance for creative industry in Bali. That is free internet access, to increase the ability of creative industry in online promotion. Promotion can be done through the special e-market application.
Yeah, sorry, excuse me for interrupting, Doctor. Because we have very limited time, I'm so sorry for interrupting you.
Okay, 1 minute.
Okay,
one minute.
Please. Thank you so much.
A local government also need to assess the licensing process for creative industry. Most with currently do not have a business permit as an effort to expand marketing and apply for business loan. And the last but not least, the education curriculum in Bali need to be and they forward to add entrepreneurial material from the lowest level of education to tertiary education, guided by a teacher or lecturer who are competent in the field from upstream to downstream. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Gurasiat, for the great presentation. Well, we wish we could have a longer time because the time is very limited, right, given by the committee. Ladies and gentlemen, that was good presentation given by Dr. Putu Murasiatne, dealing with the creative industry or foreign economy. Well, that can be a solution in recovering, let's say, in general economic development, especially in the case in Bali. And it was very clear presentation, and since we have very limited time, ladies and gentlemen, for the next 20 minutes, well, we're going to have Q&A section, right? Well, I let the participant who would like to ask question to speaker today to write your question in the room chat. So let me check it first. Professor Abhishek, are you ready, Professor? Oh, ladies and gentlemen, I'm very sorry to inform you that Professor Abhishek has something to do urgently, so he just left our virtual room. But don't worry, we still have one speaker, Dr. Putu Murasiatne. Pak Putu Murasiatne, in the room chat, you have one question from Agung Parameswara. He raised question addressed to Dr. Siatne about Orient economy. Let me read it, sir. About Orient economy, could you explain more about the discourse about Orient economy as the academic discourse? It is intersects about culture economy and creative economic, but you only explain about creative industry part. May you explain the culture economic part? Second, could you explain the key factors of foreign economy in developing country perspective? It is really important that we can see the cultural value, different meaning from local wisdom factor to explore. So, Dr. Putu Murasiatne, you also can read Pak Agung Parameswara's question, and when you read it, time is yours to respond.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Pak Kade, and thank you also Pak Agung Prames for your question for me about the Orient economy. Orang economic is always intersect between the culture and creativity. The culture is very important, but why I always only explain about the creative economy, because sometimes it's very close between the orang economic, the difference between the orang economic and the creative economic, because sometimes many experts explain about the creative economic also not so much different with the orang economic, yeah, because the economic is the spirit how to support the activity of economic, and only the different very close, yeah, the meaning of between orang economic and creative economic, but what of definition. Orang economic also the creative economic, and the function of culture is very important. Like in Bali, if all over the world, yeah, all over the world try to grow, yeah, to build orang economic, like in Bali always create the product with the characteristic of Bali culture, yeah, and that is the characteristic and may differ between the other product from other countries and other region in Indonesia and other province also in Indonesia. That is why we must support the orang economic, yeah, or the creative economic as the what we call it, the supporter of economic growth, especially in Bali. Bali now is have a contraction economic, lowest contraction economic in Indonesia, and then what we must do now? We must improve our ability, because we have more than 4 million of market, because the population of Bali more than 4 million, 4.3 million people, and we have the market also in Indonesia more than 260 people, and this is a very potential market to sell, to share, or to market our product of especially the product from our economic. Secondly, what we produce from the orang economic is close with the basic need of population, both in Bali and also Indonesia. That is why in the crisis economic, like in the era of COVID-19 now, we must try to support, yeah, to support all activities from orang economic. I think that is my answer for question of Pak Agung.
Yeah, thank you very much, Pak Putu Ngurahswiatne, for the response from the question given by Pak Agung Parameswara. Pak Agung Parameswara, hopefully, well, you satisfied with this answer. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we still have 5 minutes actually for this session. Before that, we are continuing for the next session. While listening a presentation by another speaker. So when you still have questions, just let me know. You can well, directly put your question in the room chat, or probably, yeah, you can directly. It's open mic, everyone. Please raise your hand and write your question. While waiting for the participant, Pak Putu, let me, well, raise one question concerning it's representing the participant. It's very interesting, your thoughts, Pak Putu, about Orin economy, right? What actually do you have in your mind? Because so far we put tourism as everything. We forget about the agriculture, and also we didn't focus so much about the creative industry, if I'm not mistaken. It's related with your presentation today. It's dealing with close related with the orange economy. So in the future, let's say recover the economic development in Bali from these three sectors: tourism, agriculture, and creative economic. Dealing with your topic today, what is your comment? Do you still believe that tourism, let's say we focus on tourism, as we know, nearly or almost 80% of the economic development directly related with the tourism sector. So how about tourism for the future and creative industry? You said just now it is orange economy. Would you please, I wonder if you could share your thoughts about this one, Pak Putu. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Pak Khaled. Previously, the government of Bali used the tourism sector as the leading sector of development economic in Bali. But what the effect, what the impact of the leading sector of tourism in Bali? We feel now, until now, more than 20 years, yeah, the development economic of Bali, we watched the what we call it, the disparity, yeah, between sectoral so big in Bali. And we need to how to improve the balance of connectivity between the agriculture sector and the tourism sector and the economic sector. That is we must to do in the future, and that is why the government Bali now should be what we call it, what should be use the tourism sector, not the leading sector, but the pull sector for other sector economic of Bali. Yeah, that is the difference between the leading sector. If the leading sector, tourism can leave other sector at any time, and if tourism as the pull factor or pull sector, automatically the tourism will pull all sector, like agriculture sector, marine sector, and also the most important is SMES sector or orange economic sector. And then we agree that in the future all sector in Bali will grow. What we call it, stability growing will improve together. Not only the tourism sector grow fast, but other sector still decreasing. This is the problem of Bali now. The problem of development of economic Bali. Disparity too big between the regency, between the sector, between the city and the village. That is why we must find now the many people like in Karangasem, in Klungkung, in Bangli, in Bleleng, still in low level of economic ability. Yeah, this is the effect of why previously we must use the tourism as the leading sector. Okay, I think so, Pak Kadek.
Yeah, thank you, Pak Putu. The gentleman, well, Pak Putu is expertise on this one, and he has experience in doing some research dealing with the, let's say, SMES and the economic development. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm saying the time is up. So let me make well, some conclusion for this session, that the implementation of the topic change management is important, and let's say in the resilience of the economy of Bali especially, and also implementing target communication management for tourism policy makers also is suggested. And recognizing media is an effective solution for the recovering in tourism. It also plays important role. And the last but not the least, the creative industry, or what Putu said is foreign economy, can be developed in, of course, and supporting the economic development, especially in Bali. Right. That's all. That as conclusion of our session, everyone. Thank you very much for great attention from the beginning until the end of this session. And I do apologize for any inconvenience during the session. And while I close the session by saying Param Santi Om, Santi, Santi, Santi Om.
Om Santi, Santi.
And thank you very much. And next, I deliver the time to Ms. Ayushita to continue the next session. So to Ms. Ayushita, time is yours. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Dr. Sunyasta, for the time to give in to me. Good afternoon, everyone. Ladies and gentlemen, I am Putu Salasmi, the moderator for today's seminar. I'm very pleased to see you here and welcome to you of this seminar. Today's seminar is about welcoming a new era for economic change in developing the tourism industry. Ladies and gentlemen, our speaker today are Dr. Gina from San Jose Campus, Philippines, Professor Dharma Putra from Udayana University, and Dr. Razif Jamaluddin from University Technology Mara. Before the presentation begins, let me inform you how the presentation will be going on. First, the speakers will be invited to present the material. After that, there will be a question and answer session and followed by a conclusion. For the start, in the early of 2020, the world is facing a global and social economic health crisis caused by the COVID-19 virus. Not only the big country of Indonesia is a very big impact. The challenge caused by the virus COVID-19 virus pandemic are commonly called the coronavirus have caused high unemployment, a wave of a large job cut, and destroyed many business, both large and small and medium enterprise. Bali province feel a hard impact because the economic growth of the Bali province is very dependent on the tourism sector, where the contribution of the tourism sector to the economy in Bali reached until 56%. In addition, the tight competition that occurs in the business world and the industrial world make a competence and expertise an absolute things to be owned by stakeholders inside and outside the college. Now, I allow to the speakers. Dr. Gina, are you here?
Yes, ma'am.
Hello, Dr. Gina.
Yes, ma'am. Good morning.
Okay, you please open your camera. I can't see your face. Okay, Dr. Gina. Actually, Dr. Gina is my old friend from Philippines. We meet by online, discuss also about the COVID-19 with Dr. Rajiv also. Very happy to see you. Thank you for being represent to talk about the material today about the sustainable environment. As we know, it's now a very big problem about sustainability environment in tourism especially. Okay, Dr. Gina, let me explain about you first. Okay, Dr. Gina. Okay, Dr. Gina is a lecturer tourism management. International Affairs Coordinator at Partido State University, San Jose Campus, Camarines, Philippines. Dr. Gina, also Membership Ambassador, Philippine Association of the Research in Tourism and Hospitality, the Board of Member Union of Filipino Tourism Educators, and Dr. Gina is the president, also President Council of Deans and Program Chair of Tourism and Hospitality, 2016 until 2018. Dr. Gina also a member, editor board member of the Journal of Tourism and Hospitality Education, Nepal. Doctor of Business Administration at University of Santo Tomas Legazpi, Philippines. Wow, Dr. Gina, you have so many achievements in your life. Hopefully you can share to us at WARMADEWA University to give us the more know about the tourism sector, because from your CV backgrounds, you're very familiar with the tourism sectors. Okay, Dr. Gina, are you ready now?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now I allowed me to welcome Dr. Gina to deliver his presentation. Dr. Gina, the time is yours.
Thank you, Miss Ayosita.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for inviting me here to be part of this first Economy International Conference organized by WARMADEWA University in Bali, Indonesia, with a theme welcoming a new era for economic change in developing the tourism industry. So before I proceed with my presentation, I would like to congratulate all the students, the faculty members, the administrators involved in this particular webinar. I agree with what Dr. Suyatna, am I correct? That the success of tourism can be cascaded to the different sectors of our society. So it's really a good mindset that we are going to take now when we are restarting our tourism industry. So we are. Can I share my screen?
Sure, you can share your screen, Doctor.
Okay, so is it visible now? I hope you can view my screen already. Okay, so yes, good morning once again. We are very much aware that the tourism industry is one of the most affected industries in the world because of the pandemic. But we are not tourism stakeholders. We didn't stop, okay, in innovating, and we are very much resilient in recovering and restarting our beloved industry because of its greater impact to our economy. So we are looking forward to have this in the new era, as you mentioned, to maximize the income of tourism in order to uplift the local communities from different uncertainties, from poverty maybe, and for other social problems. So I have here, I would like to present to you, I'm from the Philippines, from one of the state universities in the Philippines, and I am very much happy to share with you the topic that I assigned to me, maximizing the environment sustainability, focusing on tourism. Okay, so just to give an idea, my dear students and our colleagues, the natural environment is one of the most significant resources of tourism. This is really true. So almost all countries now actually began in operating or offering tourism because of natural attractions. Okay, so this we are talking about here: mountains, seaside, sea, rivers, waterfalls, and of course the green environment. That's forest, parks, rainforest, and safaris. Okay, one of the best example of this is your Bali, Indonesia. So your destination is one of the most famous natural natural tourism site, no, worldwide. Okay. So the environment quality, whether it is for natural or for man-made, so when we are talking about environment, this is really beneficial for tourism. Okay, so tourism can bring conservation of natural and built resources, because in tourism, we need to we need to maintain our natural parks, ancient monuments, for the purpose of tourism. And we improve also the general environment of a destination to make it more significant for the tourist in visiting our area. And our chance to have more environmental awareness because of our tourism industry. Okay, so just to show you some pictures, that tourism is really dependent on nature. Okay, so I just want to share with you the Philippines. The Philippines is actually the second country with the highest number of islands, second to your country. The first country, right, is Indonesia, and the next is the Philippines. We have 7,651 islands and islets in around our country, in the eastern part of Vietnam and eastern part of your country. So we have the most islands that actually offered for our international tourists: Boracay Island, Caramuan Island, which is actually within my area, and Palawan. Okay, so those are and this is actually my hometown. So we are actually our Legazpi City in Albay in the Philippines, actually visited by many tourists because of this landmark, which is natural landmark, the Mayon volcano. And of course, your country, your Bali. Okay, so if we can see just the manifestation that natural environment is really important in tourism. So these are other areas in my country that really have more meaning in visiting my country by our international tourists. But of course, my dear colleagues, it's sad to know that there are some unfavorable effects of tourism because of congestion, because of so many people visiting in an area. Definitely, we have this destruction of nature and habitat loss, pressure on the resources of the area, and of course the loss of cultural identity of the place and community, because the local residents are adapting the culture of the tourists, the exploitation of animals to entertain the tourists. So yes, so for the zoo, okay, as offered to our guests for entertainment. So definitely sometimes we exploit our animals. Congested human and vehicle traffic, more particularly in the cities, in the key cities or gateways, and increased prices in goods and services, of course. And for more developed tourism sites, there is the dependence in tourism, over dependence in tourism, increased pollution. So definitely it can cause more pollution, plastic, noise, light, sewage, destruction of historical monuments and natural landmarks. Okay. So those are the not so favorable effects of tourism. Okay, so but when we are talking about tourism, we must have just in mind to have balance. Okay, so we must have balance. Of course, we have the positive, and we must have that. We need to recognize also the negative effects of tourism. So that's why we need to strategize. We need to think of what to do in order to have a balanced environmental impact that really caused by tourism. So just to anchor my talk to the Sustainable Development Goals of the UN, so we are actually guided of this. So this is in making our strategic goals, developing our areas. This can be our guiding points or guidelines for us to maximize the greater impact, positive impact of tourism to our society. So if you can imagine, in these 17 goals, we have these 4. Climate action that really related to environment, life below water, life on land, and clean water are those related to or focusing on environment. And if we can maintain this, this can actually positively affect the different areas, and it can actually drive the no poverty goals, zero hunger, good health and wellness, responsible consumption, and sustainable cities. So if we actually achieve these 4 that focus on environment, definitely we can achieve the other aspects, the other goals. Everything will follow after we realize our goals for our environment. Okay, so as we talk about the new era of economic change, and we need to connect tourism as we restart, reboot, or recover in our industry. So my key points here is for us to anchor our programs. We need to bear in mind the economy, environment, and society. Maybe you are very much familiar of this because this is actually pillars of sustainability. So when we talk about economy, it's progress. When we are talking about environment, we are caring our planet. And when we talk about society, we are so caring to our people as important resource of tourism. So we're talking about sustainable tourism, definitely. So when we talk about sustainability, we need to have these 3 pillars: the natural environment, the economic viability, the healthy communities. Okay, so for economic viability, of course, we need to look forward for employment and income opportunities while we are developing our area. So we need to look for current situation and look for the next Okay, so we are planning now, but these plans are actually be using in the future. So for our natural environment, we need to protect our natural areas. So in all plans, this should be anchored with this: protect wildlife, natural resources, and conserve heritage and culture for our healthy communities. But of course, our aim is to satisfy the needs of our guests by providing them the authentic tourist experience. Okay, but of course, as I mentioned, that we need to have balance. We need to provide the need of our local residents and, of course, the need of our tourists. As we deliver quality service for us to fulfill our promise to our tourists, definitely we need also to look for the welfare of our local residents. So this is what we are talking about, sustainable tourism. Okay, so for me, as we actually having a lot of a lot of activities now with regards to tourism development, local tourism development. The best thing to do is to build strong local tourism communities. How can we do this? Okay, so we need to identify the different important stakeholders. So say, for example, tourists, local residents, so they are the important key players in our tourism industry. So tourists, local residents, the government, of course, the tour operators, and other stakeholders like the restaurant, hotels, and entertainment or MICE. Okay, for our tourists, we must have such awareness about environmental conservation, their sensitivity to our destinations, and respect to culture and environment. For our local residents, since they are the host, they must be aware of tourism. We must empower them, empowerment, give them livelihood, respect, to give them the idea of respecting the tourist and the environment. They must serve as environment rangers. In my country, in Palawan, we have the local residents there as our environment or forest rangers to protect the last frontier of the Philippines. For the government, they must have that strategic plan that anchored all the regulations or guidelines from the top, from the UNWTO to ASEAN, and then to the local or to the national agenda of tourism. Guidelines, most particularly on the solid waste management, support to stakeholders and responsible marketing, and more on research on environmental protection, on how to have environmental sustainability. For the tour operators, they must have such responsible tour packages, responsible marketing, and proper coordination to all the stakeholders in the industry. And for other stakeholders, it's good to have to maximize local products, develop the local products for our main tourist product, green practices to hotels and resorts, and enhance our ingredients in local cuisine and offer it for local, national, international tourists. Energy and water conservation in all aspects and eco-friendly accommodation can be adopted in many areas in our communities. So this should be done through a public-private partnership. Okay, so with regards to tourism offerings, we can actually offer this thematic or the different themes of tourism, like ecotourism, community-based tourism that really empower people in operating their own community, geotourism, soft tourism that with lesser impact to environment, alternative tourism, and of course, responsible tourism. Okay, so just to share my idea on how to develop or a local tourism communities. So focusing on the people, planet, and prosperity. So it means sustainable. And for this time, we must have such focus on environment. So plan, okay, so this should be guided by the plan, sustainable development plans for at least 5 years. Then you must have that technical team and support from the different agencies to collaborate, and of course to promote partnership and collaboration between the public and the private sectors. And then for us to the next thing to do is to implement those plans with our tourism councils. I'm not very familiar with people empowerment and of course inclusion.